I've been going through my collection of figures, and I've got a big collection. I've been collecting more than 50 years. But if I do it forensically, I'm like a real historian and analyse the data and go back through the paperwork, the only two figures I've got out of everything I own that are original and are exactly as I painted them on the day I got them are these. They're both miniature figurines. The oldest one is the eagle. Yes, it's an eagle. Stop laughing. In the tree. I will give you a better look, but he doesn't look any more like an eagle, trust me. And the one at the front is a giant that came out a little bit later. I know I had the giant in 1974, and I'll tell you about why. All right. I feel on safe ground telling you this. My mind wanders. I'm like a party of adventurers going off into the wilderness. I started out this morning thinking, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll do a video about my favourite figures from when I was but a lad. When I were a lad. So then there's a story here. I'll get to a point. I dug out some bits and bobs and I started putting them on the table. And then I thought, oh, well, no, wood elves are my favourite figures. I should really think hard about what's my favourite figure. And then I looked at the wood elves and I thought I might, if you'll pardon the expression, touch them up. Woohoo! And then in touching them up, I thought, I wonder what they eat. Well, no, I didn't think that. I was doing the fletchings on the arrows. And I thought, well, what feathers do they use? Because when I painted them back in the 1970s, 73, 74, I got them, miniature figurines from Southampton. I always painted yellow fletchings. I never thought, what sort of bird is that from? I wasn't like now, all full of worlds stuck in my head. I never even thought about it. Do you think the elf woodlands were full of canaries? Oh, that's actually not a bad thought. I'm not sure a canary would make a feather useful as a fletching. So anyway, see, I'm off again on another. That's not what I'm trying to say. So I'm thinking about what would they use feathers wise? Do perhaps they find dead birds' feathers? Do they kill birds? I don't think they do. I don't think elves in my world eat meat. But then I thought, I like eating meat and I like elves. So I thought perhaps eagles donate feathers. Or perhaps other birds in the forest donate feathers as a thank you for being protected in the elven forest. As I slipped further down this rabbit hole, I thought, well, maybe they eat nuts and berries, your elves. This video's not about elves. It's nothing to do with elves. Do they eat what the nuts and berries? Now, I, as a historian, I had a colleague who was a sort of historical anthropologist, and he was saying to me one day, over a pint, because a lot of academic discussions are had over pints, let's be right, that if you look at the hunter-gatherers in England, Europe, Britain, before farming comes along 10,000 years ago, they are incredibly fit. And if you're eating raw fish, nuts, berries, a lot of greeny roots, there's no fat, and you're walking and running everywhere and chasing stuff, he was saying they'd all be like Usain Bolt. There's no fat on them. Mo Farah. I thought, well, that's interesting, because, you know, that's a healthy lifestyle. It's not a lifestyle that we gluttonous humans can cope with. Dwarfs certainly can't. I'm not even going down that road. But then I thought, maybe, what about roadkill? I know there's no roads. I can imagine some deer stood on the road thinking, that cart's a long way off. It's getting nearer. By gum, it's getting near now. And like 4 hours later, the cart rides over the deer. So I thought it would move. Yeah, see, I digress. Old man syndrome. But maybe they find dead things. Perhaps they've died of old age. Perhaps they euthanize an animal. And then to honour the fact that they've done it, because they hate doing it, but it's got to be done, they then have an incredibly major ceremony at which they honour the animal's spirit, and they do all sorts of weird elf stuff, and then they consume it, and they use its bones and its hide for everything. Because my elves have got leather belts and leather stuff to put swords in. And then it gets complicated with firewood, burning wood. Oh, so, right. So I went down that rabbit hole, never intended to. And then I thought, well, actually, I haven't resolved that. But then I wonder, rather than my favourite figures, what about my earliest figures? Prove with your earliest figures that you can prove are your earliest figures. I've got figures everywhere. From, gosh, 52 years of collecting. More than that. So I thought, what have I got? What's my oldest figure? And I went through all my records. I went through my diaries. I've kept diaries since... Actually, I've kept diaries since 1968. But because I won a diary at a scout thing. I don't even know what I won it for. I've only ever won 2 things. Like proper won them. Well, that's not true. I've won stuff later on. But when I was in this period, my period is UK Dungeons and Dragons at the beginning. That's right. That's what I'm focusing on from now on. That's why the colours have changed on the thumbnail, and that's why this has changed. So that's where I'm going now, all the time. Where am I going? I'm going, what was it like to be a wargamer before Dungeons and Dragons, through Dungeons and Dragons, shortly after Dungeons and Dragons? Okay. I might wander off into other stuff. It's not a straitjacket, but that's pretty much where my head is. Because I want to archive it before I snuff it. Too late. I think it's important. Not my story, but the story. So, I've lost track. Yeah, so I won a diary when I was in the Scouts. I had no idea what that was for. And I won a blue pencil case for the 8-year-old plus sack race at primary school. If you don't know what a sack race is, I don't know where in the world you are that don't have a sack race, but get one. If you don't have sack races, get them. And you get an old sack, like a tater sack or something that's had veg in. It has to smell. It has to smellier and dirtier the better. And you get in it, you pull it up, and all the kids get in a line like that, and you have to go, and you'll run like heck, falling over. And I won that. It's the only thing I've ever won, athletically. Now, for that, I got a certificate that's mine at Galen. Yeah, you'd think, how many Galens do you think there were in the village I was brought up in? Yeah, you're right, there was one. I'd been at the school for 6 years. The teacher that wrote the certificates had known me for 6 years. And they spelt my name on the certificate. Instead of Galen, they wrote Gayland. Gayland. Still got it somewhere. And I got a blue pencil case, plastic blue pencil case. Guaranteed not to last. I don't think it lasted through the summer holidays. It fell to bits. A Woolly special, everything's a penny. So I've got a diary that covers this period. 68 I started. But I've got Wargames notes that go back to Christmas Day 1966. So I've got 2 points of reference. Historians like that. And there's also memory. The oldest figure I've got is laughable, really. And it's a Miniature Figurines eagle from the Lord of the Rings range, made under license to Tolkien. 1973, which is when I got him. He's painted with Humbrol enamels. I painted him so many times trying to get I couldn't get the colour scheme right. I didn't know what to do. He either looks like a penguin or a puffin or something strange. He does not look like an eagle. He don't look like any sort of eagle you've ever seen. Have a look. Yeah, so there's him, right? So that's my oldest figure, in as much as that's my oldest figure that I know I painted on the day I got him. I think he was about 20, what would have been like 20 pence today. And I painted him with Humbrol paints from Woolworths with big thick brushes, and we had to clean them in terps. And it smelled. I'd been doing Napoleonic figures. I had a Prussian army, so I'd been painting for a while. It wasn't the first figure I painted. That's it. That's how he looked. Blue base, everything. That's how he looked. Never been painted since. Now, the second figure I got was the following year, and the Miniature Figurines was beginning to expand into more fantasy, which they could put with the Tolkien range, which were figures that weren't necessarily only from Lord of the Rings, because before that there had been. There were Balrogs, there were Barrow-wights, there were men of Rohan, there were men of Gondor, but this fella didn't fit into that, and it's a giant with a really weird haircut. But I'm not going to show him you now, but the one that comes next to replace him, it's got an even weirder haircut. I'll do that another day. Yeah, and again, painted pretty much as I got him. I have gone over him over the years because the eagle doesn't come out very often. Interestingly, the eagle has made a reappearance in our Dungeons and Dragons Club 5th edition games. And we're actually using him for what he was meant to be used for. That's probably the first time in his life. No, probably when we got him right at the beginning, we had him fighting. There were 4 of them altogether. Don't know where his pals went. As is often the way, isn't it? But I know about the giant because 1974, I got my first proper girlfriend. And you know that sort of step beyond all the girls you've had as friends, or quick snog at the disco sort of a business. A lot of you just saying, "What's a disco?" Shut up. So we got beyond that stage, right? We were together a long time. About 16 months, I think. So it was one of them, you say you're in love and you think, yeah, but then as you get older and you realise you're not. And sadly, one of you probably realises before the other, and it leads to all sorts of kerfuffles, and somebody gets their first ever heart broken and tragedies, recriminations. So it was that sort of thing. And being a romantic chap, I saw myself as all Byron-esque. I wore I had like a long raincoat, like a sort of a Humphrey Bogart, Dashiell Hammett, Sam Spade job, but dark brown it was. And I had really long hair, proper long hair, like Neil Young. And I was skinny as a rake. I know. You wouldn't think it now, would you? And I thought I was dead dashing and mysterious. Why aren't you talking? I'm being mysterious. Bog off. Up on the slag heap at the pit. Pointing like that into the distance at nothing. Writing poetry. And I painted her because I was a romantic. That giant. Well, not that giant, because she's got that. Well, she probably hasn't now. But we called him the giant rumble buffin. Oh, I think, my memory serves me right, I've not read it for a long time, I think that's Narnia. And I made a diorama on like a cut piece of timber of him going through a path through a forest. And he's the other one. I got two. One for me, one for her. Oh, the love. We should have chopped him in half and kept half each. Could have had the legs. Come up with symbolic love stories about why I've got the legs. I will always return to you. Oh, yeah, I might have done that in 73, 74. Wow. I think I'm sharing with you more than I intended. This video was meant to be about the history of gaming. So, I mean, what it's about is they were my, not the first two figures I ever had. They weren't. I had Airfix figures. I had Napoleonic figures. I had other miniature figurines figures. Their distinction is they are as I painted them, with the proviso that the giant's been tickled about a bit because he gets used all the time. Because he's such a good model. I've used him ever since I got him. Dungeons and Dragons, I've used him in Wargaming, I've used him in every type of game you can imagine, up to the present day, where the eagle has tended to go in a box until very recently, when curiosity has meant the younger players, I hope, are quite interested in seeing how terrible the early figures were. So anyway, a bit of food for thought. And I always on my videos have a circular sort of thing. So I'm going to follow this. Just follow this, right? If you follow this, you're on the right side. This is where you need to be. If this sickens you, you need to be leaving and going to a proper site with clever, intelligent presenters. Yeah, so a circle. Here's some food for thought. Is it the carrion found on the road by the elves who won't eat meat? Ta-ra, Chuck.